let's put on play her music.
Wow.
Hi, my name is Rufus Johnson. I'm your host. Welcome to the Real Truth Show. And I just want to talk about some of everything today. First, I got to talk about the president, Obama. And it's a great thing, you know, we come through a lot in history, you know, to see this happen over 400 years and actually see the first black man in the White House. I thought I would never see it, but I'm here at 42, figuring out my age, but, to actually witness that, and therefore, it's just an honor. It keeps me motivated. There's so much going on. We got Black History Month. Last month I had the mentors. The month before that I had my man Akil Muhammad on talking about entrepreneurs and business. And this month I have a great friend of mine, my sister, Roley, and she here to represent what she does. Like I say, she wears so many hats and she just works so hard, and it's never a time where I find this woman not into something or can't catch up with this woman or can't call this woman. It's like, I got to get back at you. But my thing is, I wanted just to bring her on to talk about what's happening in our community, the things that she's been doing for the community for the last decade. So how you doing?
I'm fantastically black. And yourself?
Oh, black? You black as me?
Yeah, I am.
we about moving on the same
That's
color.
Right. That's right.
So how everything, and how's the family?
The family is blessed and highly favored, and we're still moving on, still in business.
Okay, still up at Crossing Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan
Okay,
Crossing.
that's your business.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about a little bit of that in your business, what you do up there at Crossing Jordan.
Sure. We are the proud owners of R.E.A.L Awards and Graphics. We're the only black engraver in the region, and we are located in Jordan Crossing. We're 2 doors down from the License Bureau. And so we engrave in-house. We do heat press, embroidery, silk screening, all types of custom trophies, acrylics, glass. We engrave on everything but skin. So come and see us. And plus, we're like the barbershop without the chairs. We have dialogue on community issues, and you're subject to find anyone at R.E.A.L at any time because it's just a hub for us.
Well, let me correct that. I was saying Crossing Jordan, I mean Jordan Crossing. It used to be Swift and Common.
Absolutely.
They didn't move so many different names. You've been up there since then, right?
Absolutely.
Okay,
yes.
then.
Yes.
So it's a great thing. So I basically want you to just talk about where you are, the things that you've been doing. Our main focus basically is talking about the collaborative, to bring people awareness, bring people up to date on the things they do not know what's going on with the collaborative, to know your role and what you're doing. And so it's basically your time to shine and say what you want to say and just be free to say what you want to say.
Well, thank you so much, Rufus. Thank you for having me, and thank you to your listening audience for welcoming me into their home today. My name is Roley, and I am a community activist and a community advocate on behalf of the African American community. And in this particular role today, what we'll be talking about, because as you said, Rufus, there are many hats to be worn in the community. But you know, Rufus, what I found out, you just can't do everything. So
that's why we need to have more people need to step up,
absolutely.
Come out.
So I'm hoping that once people see this show and any other show that you do, that they begin to put on that hat of let me get involved and get engaged and help make the change that we need to see, not just for us, but for our children and our children's children and our children's children's children. Because if not us, and if not now, then when? So today, Rufus, what we will be discussing today, because it's paramount on my plate at this particular time to see through something that we started back in 2000.
Okay.
And when I say we, I'm saying we in the text of the Cincinnati Black United Front. In March of 2001, the Ohio chapter of the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, along with the Black United Front, filed a lawsuit alleging that African Americans have been treated differently than other racial groups for more than 30 years. And we in that lawsuit were the plaintiffs, alleged that the recent deaths of African Americans and the disproportionate stop and search rate for African Americans illustrated a discriminatory pattern or practice employed by the Cincinnati Police Department. Well, that's something that we did in 2001, Rufus, and we're now in 2009, and my how time has flown. We have really done some work that had not been done here in Cincinnati, Ohio. And I am proud to say that we did some good work on behalf of African Americans here in the city of Cincinnati to lay some foundation of reform and of change. We started that in 2001. You know, Rufus, we started in January of 2001 collecting stories from black people. And we were in 5 different parts of the city. We were in Bond Hill, Over the Rhine, on the west side, in Walnut Hills. And people came out far and wide to tell us their stories on what they had experienced with the Cincinnati Police Department. And it was extremely humbling, Rufus. People came and sat across from us and they cried. We had grandfathers, grandmothers, mothers, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, people who understood that the first part of healing is being able to talk about it. And the second part is being able to do something about it. And so we sat with folk who had documentation with stacks of papers like this. We did that for 5 Saturdays for the whole month of January. That's what we did. And if anybody knows me, they know that I am a creature of the sun. I do not like the cold. I don't like anything associated with it. So that was a phenomenal feat, just to be able to connect with people and talk to people and have the community come and help us and join us, because many people just showed up and said, hey, Sister Iris, I want to help you in what you're doing. So out of collecting those 400 stories, we then began to build our legal team. And you know, our legal team consisted of Ken Lawson, Al Gerhardstein, and Scott Greenwood.
You know, on that note, when you're talking about when the collaborative and actually putting together the United Black Front, and I want people to understand that when I was coming to the meeting, the United Black Front represented a collective of a whole of people and agencies.
Absolutely.
It was just it was a lot of people involved. I think that the Nation of Islam was involved.
Concerned Citizens for Justice.
Victor Vittoria.
Yes.
Give me some more.
You know, there were the NAACP. There were a lot of people that were at the table, and a lot of people at that particular time. You know, the climate of the city at that time had been what it was for a very long time. Don't get out there and step on the toes of the police. Even if you were a politician, if you notice that there was no particular oversight or authority, it's just that, you know, citizens as well as business people, organizations felt like the police were just able to do whatever they wanted to do and nobody was really holding them accountable. So what this did for the climate of how policing was done and how people could engage the police was another feat that we accomplished, because they are not off limits. They are here to protect and to serve us. And in this lawsuit, Rufus, the African American population inside the city of Cincinnati, we were the plaintiffs in this. And so just let me, I wanted to read to people the plaintiff's class so that they understood. Okay. The plaintiff class for the racial profiling case that helped propel the collaborative agreement settlement consisted of, and this is in the legal document that came out of the 6th Circuit Court of the United States Department of Justice. All African Americans are black persons and people perceived as such who reside, work in, and or travel on public thoroughfares in the city of Cincinnati, Ohio, either now or in the future, and who are stopped, detained, or arrested by Cincinnati police officers or their agents, and citizens of any race who have been or will be subjected to use of force by Cincinnati police officers and their agents. And so we created that class of people because, as I stated earlier, we had done a review of policing in the black community for 30 years. It wasn't just 2 years, 10 years, 15 years, it was of 30 years, how African Americans have been policed in the city of Cincinnati for 30 years. So Rufus, I wanted to read that to people so that they understood that in this particular lawsuit, we were the plaintiffs and not the defendants.
So that lawsuit started in 2000 or?
And we signed the class action lawsuit in March 13th. We signed to make it a class action lawsuit March 13th, 2001.
Okay, now now audience need to keep in mind that this has already been going on.
Yes.
Way before the lawsuit, but it had to come to a breaking point, and I think that 2000 or 2001 was the breaking point. Well, let me just be specific. Not saying the particular murder of Timothy Thomas was the breaking point.
Absolutely.
It was other murders before then on Afro-American males, and what was happening with Afro-American males in the community, as far as if you was driving in your car or just even standing on the corner. So there was a lot going on with police and with the policing against Afro-American males. I guess that would be fair to say.
Yes.
But it came to a breaking point. So touch on that.
And I think let me say this. Let me just digress for a second, because you're absolutely right. In January 2001, we reached out to the community. Before that, Bomani Tyembe, who was the class representative as far as lawsuits, when he was stopped on Reading Road with his children in the car, he was taking them to school at Southern Baptist Church. That was the catalyst for some of us in the community to say, what in the world is going on? Let's take a closer look at what's going on. So Bomani had already had his lawsuit inside of the federal court. But what we found out, the more we dug and the more we looked, is that there were many more allegations being put forth. And so what Judge DeLotte did then was said, if you can find that this is a pattern, and we will open it up to a class action. And so class action covers all people of that particular class, which are African Americans. So when we set out to collect those 400 stories to determine if we would actually have a class action lawsuit, we found that it was far and wide through the city. And so when we collected 400 stories in 30 days, that was tremendous. And then to compile them and then hand them over to the attorneys and their law clerks to look to see which ones were the most egregious, who had viable stories. Because sometimes when you're in a situation like that, what we don't do enough of is paying attention to our surroundings, paying attention to what's going on, who said what, because we're caught up in the moment. And so it's almost like teaching ourselves how to deal with the conflict when it's actually happening, to step outside of yourself. Let me say it to you like this, Rufus. It's like I lost my father in '94, and I couldn't grieve because I was his oldest child and I had to plan the funeral. So I had to step out of grieving so that I can make proper decisions, especially when it comes to monies and insurance and things like that. So you have to, you just have to take yourself out of grieving. When you are in a situation with CPD or one of their agents, you kind of have to take yourself out of that situation, outside of yourself, so that you're protecting yourself and those around you. And you have to be mindful of where you are, who's around you, what time of day it is, so that if you have to file a complaint, your information is concise. Your information is the truth, because you're going up against a Cincinnati police officer. So one of the most humbling experiences for me was the collection of those 400 stories. And I like to say, if there's someone watching your show that was part of those stories that were told, please, at the end of the show, I will give my number and email. Contact me. I want to know how you're doing, how things have changed for you, and if things have changed for you, if you've seen any of these changes. But let me say this, Rufus. We've had 2 monitoring teams. In the beginning of this process, all of the parties selected the monitor, the evaluator, as well as the executive director of Community Problem-Oriented Policing, the center.
Now, I want you to be clear on when you say the monitors. I mean, who monitored, from the Justice Department?
No, it was an independent group of law educated people who were attorneys, and it could have been prosecutors, but they formed teams called the monitor teams to come in to make sure that every